The Square Ball Podcast.
We're off with another episode of The West Stand. Welcome to the show. You can find this one normally on a Monday and a Friday on YouTube in your podcast app, where we have guests come in from across the world of Leeds United. My name is Dan Moylan. Hello to you. And with me is Michael Normanson.
Hello.
We watched today's guest on NordVPN.
Well, we heard him.
We heard him, yes. Sorry.
We heard him.
Thanks to the gift of NordVPN, where we were able to watch LUTV on Wednesday against Coventry. That's good.
Where were we? Germany?
Yep, the German office we popped over to thanks to NordVPN. Virtual location. That's the beauty of it, yeah?
Exactly. If you're on it, you can search for pictures of Tony as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you could probably do that from anywhere.
Yeah, safe search on.
Exactly.
Safe search on. Loads of benefits to having a VPN as well in terms of like safety and security. If you're on public Wi-Fi networks, you can use this one on 10 devices. Fastest VPN in the world. nordvpn.com/TSB. Have a look at the website there for details, and the details of it are in the episode description as well. Today's guest is Tony DORIGO. Hello, Tony. Welcome back.
Hello.
Looking fresh-faced and awake this morning because we are recording at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning, straight off the back of you getting back from Coventry. What time did you land last night?
1 o'clock, 1:15, something like that. But it was a pleasant journey back, I have to say.
Yeah. Not too far, is it, when you get going on the M1? But
no, 2.5 hours.
What were you and Bryn talking about in the car then? What did you make of that performance? What do you see at Leeds United at the minute?
First thing that struck me was I think there is now an inner confidence and belief in the side. Because a 7-0 win, you can produce a one-off performance like that, score plenty of goals, and then how do you follow that up? And going to Coventry away, I thought it was going to be a tricky game, but the way that we handled it, it wasn't tricky because we were just so much better than them, simple as that. That the tricky bit was actually putting the ball in the back of the net only 2 times, and how we didn't score 7 or 8, I just don't know. But I just think the way that the team played, their attitude, I think they're in a really, really good moment.
Does that happen in a dressing room? What have you been in one of those dressing rooms where I think Aronson described it as like flow state almost in the wake of Cardiff, where it's better known to other people from the outside probably is when it clicks. When everything has just clicked and it seems to be in a groove and it's working. What's it like to be in that environment? Can you feel yourself elevated higher? You
can. No, absolutely. It doesn't happen too often, but fortunately I've been in that situation a few times, and it's kind of like this inner confidence, this invincibility that starts to grow within the squad. And then when you get into the tunnel before the game, you're looking around at your teammates and thinking, okay, today we ain't getting beat. Doesn't matter what happens, and you go a goal down. Doesn't matter. You're going to still come back and beat them, and it's that sort of thing. Whereas opposite end of the scale, you go 1-0 down, you think, oh, we ain't getting this one back. This is tough, So it's this mental state that grows and grows and grows. And had it a couple of times. Once I think in my career I went 35 games unbeaten. That was nice. And then obviously Leeds, not losing at home all season. Those sort of situations make the group go into this state where everything flows. Everything flows. And then you talk about, the boys must be tired. They're playing too many games. Are you kidding me? Give me more games in that period because you just want to keep going.
It's funny, isn't it? We had a similar conversation, but on the fan side of the fence last night. So I don't want the FA Cup game at the weekend. You just want the league games to keep coming thick and fast. Whereas actually, I think earlier in the season, bloody hell, it's another Tuesday, it's another Wednesday. Yeah, I just want a couple of days off. And actually, I'm enjoying this again now. Yeah. And that level of jeopardy has been introduced.
Yeah, we were saying that the general feeling in the room yesterday was there was a very clear sense that this is the end of the season now. I know they're getting into football cliché territory saying, are we yet in at the business end? But it feels it felt business ended, didn't it, last night? I think probably because everything's so heightened off the back of the 7-0, the lack of transfer window activity. A difficult game at Coventry. I know we struggled there last year. The Frank Lampard factor, and actually to turn up and look like we could have won 7-0 again was just delightful, wasn't it, in the end? But albeit a not stress-free second half because we just kept missing chances. And we've seen in the past, if you miss your chances, they get one back, you can crumble quite quickly, can't you? So it was good. I felt alive.
Well, that's good. Always good. Daniel did say afterwards as well, in that, probably against a better side, obviously not saying he wasn't trying to say Coventry weren't very good, but they weren't very good. What he was saying, though, when against better side, we can't keep missing those sort of chances. So there's always something to improve. There's always something to get better at. And that's really important because Doesn't matter who you are or where you are, what level you play. You're always striving to get better. And there's a few obvious things we can get better at. However, it seems a bit churlish to say that when we've just won 7-0 and 2-0.
Yeah, and it could have been 7 twice.
Yeah.
Did you expect that sort of performance on Wednesday?
Actually, talking to Bryn in the car going down, I said, you know what, I fancy us to win tonight, and this could be a real statement. Did I think it was going to be like that? No. I thought we would win. I thought we'd have some difficult moments, and we did have one or two, and delighted for Illan Meslier to come up with a couple of saves at the right time. But you got to say, really the score should have been 8-1 or something at best. So no, it was a performance for me that suddenly I thought, okay, these guys are getting into this little flow now, and I'm sure they're going to be looking forward to the Sunderlands and the Sheffield Uniteds. I think they're going to be great games. And if I was a player now in that team, I'm thinking, come on, bring them on.
Does this current run start to eliminate maybe any nerves or slightly anxiety that's on the fringes there about those games, thinking how the season hinges on this, when actually, like you say, it seems to have switched over into an invincibility now?
Yeah, I don't see nerves. I don't see that. I just see excitement. I see the possibility of putting right a few wrongs. I'm sure they're thinking of last season. I know Ethan, talking to him, we know what happened last season. Let's not take anything for granted. They're really determined to make sure they get the job done this time and do it the right way. And I can see that in the way that they're playing.
Mm-hmm. I think we might have had a harder game had Mark Robins still been in charge last night. And this is not me just having a cheap shot at Lampard. I was just surprised.
Feel free.
I was surprised. Oh, fair enough.
Know your audience.
I was just a little bit surprised that they kept being so wide open and nothing was done to
a little bit surprised
change that. But we were laughing about it. So we had the episode of Propaganda on from the weekend where we played Cardiff, and the sweary Cardiff City boy was on, and you made a remark on that because I was just listening to it in the car on the way in, where you're saying. And he was saying, and they just keep cutting us open by going down the sides. And he had spotted, as through the eyes of a teenage boy, what it was.
But that was our second goal. He was saying, and it was the Dan James disallowed offside. He was like, it just shows how easy it is. They just keep knocking it down the side and scoring goals.
And it felt like you could transplant that same example to what we saw from Lampard's Coventry on Wednesday. Just hit the ball in behind because they're playing such a high line. They're trying to play out from the back, but then inevitably not good enough to quite carry it off because they're running out of ideas, so it gets hoofed. Possessions recycled, we go again. It's like, I don't know, watching it as a fan, you think surely an opposition manager would do something to try and arrest this slide.
Particularly because we know Frank Lampard does scouting too.
Yeah.
He does all that tactical stuff.
And he told them to defend better.
He did probably tell them that, yeah. It's a shame. It's a shame to see him floundering.
Tony maintaining a professional facade here in the corner.
I can hear your sympathy in your voice. I mean, it's just...
Well, he gave the Leeds fans a wave at the end, Tony, so the relationship is good.
Is it confirmed that he was giving it 4-2 to the away end?
Yes, I was there.
Right. Isn't that a weird thing to do?
Well, what I would say is clearly we've got under his skin, and as a manager, I think that's the wrong reaction. It really is. And back to the tactics as well. I'm with you in that I can see he wants to set up his side, 3 at the back and all this sort of stuff. First half, when it started to go a little bit wrong, so because we play with two wide men that get really wide and they're quick, you've got to be careful. So when you're playing a higher line, you better make sure that your midfield on top of our midfield and that, not allowed to get those passes through with any sort of quality. Now, if we're going to start passing around you in midfield, what you can't do is keep the high line. You've got to do it in relation to the ball. And first half, you could see that we got through once, we got through twice, we kept getting through. So I'm thinking second half, okay, they're not going to push right up, but they did it even more and even worse. And I'm thinking, well, you're still not winning the ball. We're still controlling everything. And at the time, if you look when our midfielders get on the ball, there were 2 and 3 runners always wanting just to go beyond. And I'm thinking, okay, this is crazy. Why do you keep staying in that high line? But they kept doing it, which is
it was like the
Swansea
4-0 from last year when they did it. And we actually got to the point of when we were watching it, he was just laughing.
Yeah.
Like, why are they still doing this?
The second half, the line got that high. We didn't even have to go through midfield. It was just...
We just up.
Pass it around the back. Joe Rodon would run past someone and just knock it over the top. And we were throwing goals like 3 times in a row.
I think it was about the 88th minute they thought, actually, Dan James is quite quick, isn't he? It was bizarre.
Who would you pick out for special attention then? You mentioned Meslier before. We led off on the match ball just saying what world-class saves they were.
Yeah.
That actually, strangely enough, won us the game. In a game where we could have scored 8 or 10 goals, his saves actually proved to be match-winning saves.
I think you're right. And we're going to be talking, I'm sure, a lot about the goal scorers and all our attacking play and what have you. But I think it's built certainly on a couple of players and one in midfield. So I think Rodon and Ampadu at the back, which is superb, and because it's the way we start off as well at the back, and the composure that we've got, and the speed that we do things, and we slow it down, then we keep it, then the speed again. I think Rodon's getting better and better with the ball. I think if you look at initially when he was trying to do those sort of things, wasn't sure when to run forward, then I'll try and pass it, and then he'd give it away, and then you could see that affect him slightly. I don't see that anymore. I think he's been brilliant. Ampadu come back in, how he slotted in so quickly after that injury is a testament to him. He's been very good. So that base that we've got is really, really solid. Mm-hmm. And after that, then you control the game, you control the ball, and then you give it to our forwards, and we know we can score goals.
I think the past week as well has been nice because some of the doubts have been Meslier letting things in, not really making any match-winning saves. He's done that in that game. The previous game, you get Joseph and Nonto scoring goals, and it's felt like a while since they've been doing anything. So it feels like the last couple of games have actually fixed a number of things, even if it maybe papers over cracks to an extent, but it just maybe makes everyone feel a little bit better.
Exercise a few ghosts.
Everyone just can feel a little bit calm. It's like, okay, Joseph can still score. Yeah. Good. Even if it's a tap in. You don't care if you're a striker, I think. It's just about getting it, and also getting it next to your name.
Even like Pirro. Pirro's not far off the top scorer in the division. He's joint with Borja Sainz for goals and assists now, and he's out for 6 games, so it's a chance maybe to even overtake him. He's not been immune from criticism because there are times when it feels like he doesn't do much but score. But that's a nice problem to have, I suppose.
It is. Although saying that, I thought the Cardiff game, he actually contributed more than just that. I thought that was his best game. His movement, his link-up play was very good, and that's what we want to see. So what we're now seeing is a level from him that we want that to continue. I think last night, first goal was excellent. I just couldn't see him missing. Unfortunately, I couldn't see him missing the second or the third one, which he did, which is really unusual. But he wasn't alone. It was a lot like that. So you're right. I think we have options, and they're everywhere. And if something doesn't quite work, then we can swap it. But at the moment, it is working. And then I just look at the fullbacks that we play against as well and think, right, I've got Dan James off after 70 minutes and on comes Gnonto, or Ramazzani, or, we're relentless. And I think that's the word that Daniel Farke keeps using. And last night he says, I want us to be relentless in whatever we do. And we're getting that way. I
think particularly with Firpo in the team as well, it's not even just one wide man the fullbacks contending with either, because Bogle and Firpo are so high up the pitch all the time. It's basically four of the best wide men in the division you're constantly up against. So it's exhausting.
And that's why they can do that, because we've got Ampadu, Rodon, and Tanaka. And obviously Gruev last night to add a little bit of extra. They fill those gaps in. So there's lots of ways of playing a game of football, but with those, I suppose, characteristics, it's really important that we are still tight at the back, and that's what we are. We're very good.
Just to address the point of the speed of play that you mentioned a couple of minutes ago there, Tony, and varying it up, I felt like one of the hallmarks of last season at times would be that the distribution out from the back was a little bit laboured and slow. And I remember the number of times when Eli Meslier would do that thing where he'd pretend to bowl it out to one fullback, but then hold on to it. Yeah. And then he'd look around and pause, and the crowd would groan, and then he'd maybe do it again, and the crowd would groan a little bit louder. Yeah. And then it eventually went out, and we did the tippy-tappy around thing, and it felt a little bit pedestrian. Have you noticed that distribution has been a bit quicker, and movement out from the back has been a little? Has it been tweaked a little bit maybe this season, and they're moving it, trying either to the fullbacks or from the keeper or through the lines, just a bit quicker?
I think there's a confidence in what they're doing. There's a better understanding of what they're trying to do. It's still all about control, because that's what Daniel Farke wants. It is very much about control, but I think it's now control with a purpose. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it really quickly. So when they commit that pass, there's a real reason. It's not like, I'll give it to him, and then what should I do? No, they know. And sometimes it's right to slow things down. And I looked at Sims last night, the Coventry striker. He was chasing around. He got to a point where I'm not sure I want to chase anymore, because I'm never getting anywhere near this ball. And that's what we're very good at. And then we can start to go and play. So I think, the understanding of what the manager wants, I think the players are getting more and more confident in that. And we get out in some really good areas. Although I have to say, obviously, the way that they played, 5 at the back, it gives us a little different opportunities, I suppose, against those sort of tactics. But I think we're good, whoever we play.
Feels like we've found a way to unlock that door as well, the 5 at the back now. I think we struggled with it a lot more last season.
I think the addition of Bogle as well as someone who is he seems to always look to get the ball at his feet and just run forward with it is quite a difference. It just starts dragging teams out of shape all of a sudden. If you know that the defence is just going to pass it amongst themselves until they can work it into midfield, it creates quite a different problem than having someone who can just pick it up and set off, play a little 1-2, and then he's down the line.
Yeah. I asked him last night, have you got some sort of private lane where no one's allowed to tackle you? You just keep running up and down. Is that it? Because the thing is, once you've got our three wide men, who picks him up? Is it the wing back? Is it the left-sided centre half? So indecision there. But once our fullback gets beyond the front three, well, who's picking him up now? So we just keep coming in waves, and because we keep the ball so well in that midfield area, they can keep getting forward.
As a fullback, what did you make of that goal?
It was brilliant. It was a great goal, and it was all about positivity, getting forward, taking a chance, and a bit of luck. And I thought he lost it 2 or 3 times, but the keeper decided to give it back to him, which is very kind of him, and he tucked it away. But I thought Bogle played really, really well. Last few games, he's been excellent, really good. I think when he first come, it's taken him a little while to settle and see the best of him. But now he, along with everyone else, is really motoring. And I think when you're coming up against us, yes, you can talk about the front three and making sure they don't play an Aronson, but you've also got to now take in our fullbacks and who is picking them up in an attacking sense, or the opposition. How do we stop them? And that says everything about how we're playing.
And that additional quality in central midfield as well. Because Tanaka's, he's just great, isn't he?
Honestly, the guy is, it's wonderful. I mean, he sees danger anytime, Bogle is just slightly out of position. It's okay because Tanaka is there. He gets his foot in, he gets his body in. He's a strong boy as well. He is a strong boy, but it's okay being strong, but can you read danger? Can you, get a yard in your head rather than on the pitch? And he does that as well. And
then alongside him, I mean, I know he didn't play last night. You had Gruev breaking things up a little bit. But like Rothwell will pick the ball up and drive at these defences as well. The number of times where it seems like a really basic thing to do, but it's so effective as well, getting defenders on the back foot, just running past people. It breaks the lines, doesn't it?
It does. Breaking the lines is what it's all about. And that's where I suppose you look previously in when you were talking about keeping the ball. Well, we were great at keeping the ball, but if it's always in front of the defence, then it's rather easy. But what Rothwell gives you is that spurt, and once you've suddenly done that, he's clear who's going to go to him then, and then it opens the game up. And it's really important to do that. Whereas out wide, we can do it like one-on-ones, but in midfield, we didn't probably have that player. And now with him, we have.
When we were watching it last night as well, when Tanaka, turned out to be a terrible shot from the edge of the box. But having someone who's willing to shoot from the edge of the box gives defences a different problem as well. Whereas when Glenn Kamara last year had it on the edge of the box, you could basically leave the space in front of him open because you're like, well, he's not going to shoot. Obviously, he's never going to shoot.
I'm sure there's something in his contract that says I'm not allowed to shoot.
Or maybe even pass forward as well. If he felt quite reluctant to do that, bless him.
I think he had a good season. I do think he's a good player, but there were certainly maybe the whole composition of the midfield last year was a bit too conservative because I think they were all good players in there, but maybe all a little bit sideways at points. Whereas this year it feels like with Rothwell and Tanaka, we now got the progressive players instead.
And slightly different players in that you can mix it up if you want to, like you're saying, like putting Gruev in just to add that little bit of extra solidity.
Yeah.
And he's come back and looks, as Ampadu has, come back from actually quite a big injury this year and slotted in and looks pretty good straight away.
And I think the way that we hunt in packs as well, and you're right, you need to be fit and have a really good understanding, and I think we do that well. I'd love to know how many times we recovered the ball, within a second or within a 2-second period, because we've been superb at that. We really have. And I look at everyone, and sometimes then you have to drop back, get in your right position, and then when they go, they go, and we win it back time and time again. And that's the way to put the opposition under pressure, and that's the way to win the ball back if you can high up the pitch. But it's a collective understanding of we're getting this ball back, and we do it, I think, better than anyone else.
It's amazing how a win like that against Coventry has taken a load of the heat out of the discussion around the transfer window and the fact that people were crying out for reinforcements. I will hold my hands up and say I still think we should have added something. Equally, I think we're probably going to be fine without, and there's more evidence on the basis of beating Coventry and obviously 7-0 against Cardiff. To approach it from a slightly different angle then, Tony, from a player's angle, those players in that Leeds United dressing room, presumably because Daniel Farke has opted not to add reinforcements and he's talked up his squad, he said it in the press conference, he said, I back my boys. You're going to feel 10 feet tall in that dressing room, aren't you, when he said, no, yeah, I would like some reinforcements, but you guys have got it.
Yes, I think for me, it's a case of looking at what was out there. I think as a football club, as a recruitment team, as a manager, you're always looking to improve your team, and you're looking at your windows and seeing, obviously what's the finances are and what can I get. But I think the simple fact is that it's tough to get someone that can hit the ground running and be better than what we've got at the moment. And then you've got to look forward to, fingers crossed, the Premier League, and then how does that fit? What sort of player? So what sort of player are you going to get? And I did listen to Daniel Farke's quite long preview, but he made some very valid points, and he really did. And it's not as if we haven't got competition for places within the squad anyway, because I can see that even when the lads are warming up, that the subs are warming up, they just want to get on. You saw against Cardiff, when the subs came on, they all wanted to score. They were all going, no, I'm going to score. No, I'm going to score. That's exactly what you want. So we've got that kind of already there. I take your point in that you always want something better. And if it can come now, January, well, that's it. We're going to sail across the finishing line. But it wasn't to be. And, since then we've scored 9 goals and on we go. But it's the injury factor. That's the thing, isn't it? If we do lose, 1 or 2 more to injuries, how will that affect the squad? But we've coped pretty well, and I just looked at our bench and thought, okay, that's one strong bench.
We've got quite a lot there, haven't we?
Yeah.
We are into the business end of it, but before we get down to business in the rest of the league, we have the FA Cup game at the weekend. Where do you sit on the unwelcome distraction or fun distraction scale?
I'm going fun distraction in that it is a nice relief. It's a way of just taking it down a notch. I think there will be not just 3 or 4 changes. Clearly, there's going to be 5, 6, or 7 changes. So there'll be lots of different players getting their opportunity. I still think we're going to be extremely competitive, and we're at home, and I can still see us winning the game. But to give the certain players a rest at this time mentally, because then we're going to be into a busy period again, aren't we? They just come thick and fast, the games, non-stop. But I think it's a good release in that we're winning games, we're getting through rounds, but we know, well, I certainly know which is the priority, and that's by far and away it's the Championship.
I think without a midweek game following this, you'd probably play a decent side, but because we play on Tuesday, I just feel like it's set up to change 7 or 8 players and certainly give Aronson a rest, give Pirro a rest, and also within the front players, you sense there's, as you're saying, there players coming off the bench. There's probably quite a lot of appetite for them to actually get some minutes and prove themselves. So in Nonso, Joseph, Ramazani, 3 players who would start in absolutely any other team in this division probably as well. Maybe a few would have a striker over Joseph, but I think those wide men are unbelievably good for a bench. So I think we're not necessarily throwing it in by changing the team. There's still potential there to win it.
And if we did lose, it feels, given what's at stake, it does feel a little bit consequence-free almost. You don't want to take the momentum out of this, do you? You don't want to take the wind out of the sails. But equally, I'm fairly sure if we were to go out via whatever means on Saturday, I'd have shrugged by Sunday and gone, back to the league.
I'd kind of be all right with it.
Yeah.
As much
Jeez, listen to you two. What is wrong with you two? What's happened? But I get where you're coming from.
But it's the financial implications and the squad implications and the fun implications of not going up versus going up.
Yeah.
We get to see, progression and investment, and potentially, stadium plans get revealed.
Yeah.
If we mess this one up, if we don't go up,
don't talk like that.
It's purgatory forever, isn't it?
I get you. Yeah, and
it feels like it.
Well, the position we're in, the team we've got, the quality of the league this season. I mean, it's kind of like a perfect storm, surely. And if we don't, I'm with you. But I don't see that. I just see us, growing into that team. Will go on and get the job done.
Yeah, it means that it's the West Brom game that would move, wouldn't it? So that ends up pushed into a midweek, which means things get a bit more congested. And I don't know. It worries me a bit.
It does, but you just said then about the changes. I mean, those front 3. Well, that could have been a starting front three early in the season. So it's just making sure our squad gets the minutes in. There's a few others in there. Strouk would be good to come back and get a game in. Gilavogi, another bit of time on the pitch as well. So I don't see it being a problem at all.
Yeah, I'd like us to win. I
never
want Leeds to do anything but win. But like I say, the point
and
I'm
it's
making
Millwall.
Absolutely, yeah. And if we didn't, I'd be like, well, I'll live.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, the back line, if you change all of it, you're going to be looking at Schmidt, Byram, and then I guess Strouk and Verba. It's still a strong defence. Is that it's easily capable of winning a game.
What do you think, Tony, of the way that the games have fallen? So we moved the Coventry game obviously forward from the weekend because of the FA Cup game. Burnley won on Tuesday. So is there a psychological advantage there to both those sides winning? And then we look to Saturday's games when we're kicking off against Millwall. It's Sunderland against Watford shortly after that. Sheffield United against Portsmouth at 3:00. We've played first. We've got the points in the bank, points on the board. Would you always rather have the points on the board than be chasing?
Always. But I think probably since I retired, I make more of that in my head than when I was playing, because it was a case of, we can't control what others do. It's just our moment when we get on the pitch. We do what we need to do. But there's no doubt in the back of your mind, if you can put 3 points on the board before them, it's a bit of added pressure. And I'm sure they're all looking at us and thinking, oh, God, they've just won 7-0. They've gone there and spanked Coventry 2-0, probably the biggest 2-0 win I've ever seen. And, they're in good form. And, we've got to just make sure, try and get on their coattails. So that's a nice position to be in. But as Daniel said after the Cardiff game, in that it's still only 3 points. And if we stop playing from now to the end of the season, we don't go up by about 10, 15 points. So we still have plenty to do. But I think we know that.
Yeah, and looking ahead to the game week, as you were touching on there, Michael, after this weekend, we play first on the Tuesday at Watford. And then you've got Burnley versus Hull on the Wednesday, Sunderland versus Luton on the Wednesday, and then Sheffield United Middlesbrough, which won't be easy, also on the Wednesday. So it's another chance to lay down a marker, or just even if you just stretch that gap out by a point, it leaves them chasing, doesn't it, constantly?
I did watch a bit of the Middlesbrough Sunderland game. That was a crazy game.
Yeah, a bit much.
That was a bit much. Hell of an own goal, to be fair, right at the end. But it's going to be twists and turns, simple as that. And I think Sunderland actually play a good brand of football. I like the way that they play. Whereas if you look at the Burnley Sheffield United style, that's a bit more pedestrian. Right. Let's go with that, shall we? Or not so inventive, or not as much flair. But Sunderland actually got a player. What's his name? The ex-Roma guy who's just gone. Lefebvre.
Yeah.
Lefebvre. They bought him for a lot of money, actually, from French football. Roma did, and they paid, 17, 18 million for him. He played 2 or 3 games, and I covered his first game that he played for Roma away at Cagliari. And I thought, wow, this guy's got some technical ability, but didn't seem physically kind of strong, quite ready. Played the next game, got injured, and then there was a bit of a nightmare. Didn't get in, new managers and all that sort of stuff. So he went to Sunderland, but he's a talent. He is a real talent. So they've got some very technical players, whereas obviously the Burnleys and the like, really workmanlike, and they get their results in a different way. So different styles, but again, I think we can play against any style.
And in some ways, playing against a team that actually tries to attack seems to be
way better.
The thing that suits us, because where we've actually failed this year has been teams that are just have no intention of attacking and score from a set piece.
The low and mid block.
Although saying that, I think Plymouth kind of got it a bit wrong, didn't they? When they came, Rooney with the 6 at the back, I don't think ever
that
quite
was a bit
worked.
Weird.
That was weird.
Although you look then, I suppose you look at the Cardiff game, and you go, actually 3-0's all right. maybe that's the best you can hope for.
Good point.
Because Cardiff didn't change their style of play. They tried to do the normal stuff for the full game, and it resulted in that.
Yeah.
So,
and Plymouth are bottom as well, so they're probably not very good.
I mean, that is a side effect of employing Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, that's what the table I think suggests. Actually, do you know what? Just talking about the early versus late fixture or playing first reminded me of the penultimate game of the 91-92 season, playing at Sheffield United at lunchtime, and then going home to watch Liverpool Man United for the title.
Yes,
but that was a fun day.
That was a real fun day. That was really good. Yeah, that was just a weird day in that so much just happen very quickly, and the game itself, and we're always really confident, but just the way that it turned out, some weird goals. I look back at that game, I think, and that was just weird. You know, the wind, the goals, the own goals, it was just odd. But again, when you get to that point, it doesn't matter what it's like. It's 3 points, and we got that on the board, and you just sit and then say, okay, over to you. But I mean, that's you're a game or two away from the end of the season. That's where the real kind of pressure happens. I'm thinking this season for us, we're not going to be in that situation.
Yeah, I hope not. And it's hard not to look at the fixtures and see. I think it's the Easter Monday fixture, Burnley versus Sheffield United. I think that's the third to last game of the season.
Right.
Somebody's dropping points.
Someone there. Yeah.
Somebody's dropping points. Could that be a day where we hopefully benefit from it?
You've already looked that far ahead.
I will say this, Tony. Last night was the first night. I was driving home from here last night in the dark. It was the first time I visualised us lifting the trophy.
Honestly?
Yeah. I started to imagine what it... Yeah. I don't know. Is visualisation part of sport?
Yes,
sports psychology?
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think you're not a player, though. I don't know if you've noticed.
No, but I'm trying to take comfort as a fan.
I really hope you're not going to do the out of window signing.
We'd like to get promotion. Please, Dan. Please, Dan.
Come
no.
on.
Maybe for the last game, they might give you a go.
Like a really disrespectful cameo of a 46-year-old tired man. But no, I imagine sitting there and seeing us lifting the title. It would be around just after Easter, wouldn't it?
I'm with you in that. I just look at the performance last night coming off the back of that 7-0. It gave me a lot of confidence in what they're doing, and more importantly, it's not my confidence that's needed; it's theirs, and I think they've got it in spades now.
Early goals as well. That's the other thing of recent weeks.
Yeah.
Burnley aside, which was a weird non-event, but all the last 4 or 5 games, it feels like we've scored within the first 20 minutes, and it's completely opened the game up. Any plan to waste time is gone.
Yeah.
Like, it's just been nice going to Elland Road and not having to watch a goalkeeper take a minute over every goal kick, which was kind of the hallmark of early games this season. We're just like, looking at your watch thinking, I hope you're adding this on, ref.
You're furious. You're already furious about this.
It's so annoying, though. You just literally sat there watching people wait to take throw-ins and goal kicks for like half of the time you're in Elland Road. It's not entertaining. Do
you know what I realised as well? The visualising lifting the trophy thing. I've realised it's because I've not seen us be promoted since 1990. Because I missed the Grayson promotion. Obviously, we had COVID for the Bielsa one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen us go up since 1990.
They didn't give us a trophy with Grayson either, even though we should have deserved one.
Yeah. Well, they do now, don't they?
Yeah, you do get a second place trophy,
special
don't you?
participation trophy, yeah, because the division winners get one, the playoff final winners get one, so you get a nice little sympathy trophy if you finish second.
Sympathy trophy. Actually, the World Cup, I got a, what did I get? I got a bronze medal for finishing 4th. How does that work out?
Right.
I don't know.
Did you?
Yeah, I got a medal. It was from the Sun, to be fair. Okay, let's forget that.
Oh, okay.
It was one of them. Well, no, we will lift the proper trophy, I'm sure.
Will we?
Yeah, I really do think that. Okay, well, tell me who's going to beat us. I mean, who's a better side than us? And I get it. Then the Leedsy stuff then comes in from now to the end of the season. But I'm getting over that now.
Yeah.
And I think the players are.
These last 2 games feel like we've overcome ourselves a little bit.
Yep, for sure. And obviously, Watford away, that will be a big one again. They're all going to be, but we can get through, navigate that one well. And surely, everyone has to be thinking, right, confident we can really do this.
Fingers crossed, Tony. Thanks for coming in. Speak soon, yeah?
Lovely. Absolutely.
See you in a bit.
Cheers.
The Square Ball Podcast.